Today's video, we're going to talk about automated discounts on Google Shopping / Google Merchant Center. How this can double your profit from your shopping campaigns. Yes, absolutely. I'm not embellishing this at all. I'm going to go over a case study where I go over the numbers for a women's clothing brand where we instituted this method of Google giving Google the power to test our prices on our shopping ads. Yes, you absolutely can do this now. You can do it. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can do it on this particular video with these simple 3 steps where you're going to give Google the option of testing your price at the current level or 10% less, 10% less, 10% less, where the maximum profitability is going to be on your campaign for each individual item that you sell, given that they are going to also understand what your costs of your products are and maximize the profit by finding the perfect price for every item given your cost of what it costs you to get the product from the manufacturer. So with that said, this is one of the best things that Google has come out with in my mind in the last few years. And I've proven that this works exactly like I thought it would. So stay to the end of the video to see how much. This 3-step process to test, basically what Google's gonna do is do price testing on your behalf. You're going to give Google basically all the data to do price testing on your shopping ads, and they're going to do it all for you. I've talked about in other videos how we've done price testing manually, where we did not use this automated discount feature on Google Merchant Center, where we'll just simply change the end digit of our price, or we'll change the price a little bit to match our competitor's price, or we'll just split test. Hey, does it do better at 190 or 210? This has all been great ways to make money for a long time. However, the day has come, as is with a lot of things, where we actually do want to give Google some more control here, because they can actually test at a higher level. Ultimately, we can test on an items level with the prices, but in addition to that, Google can test on a micro or fractional level who should see what price on an individual user level. So, such as if they see a top 10% of income demographic that a person will typically buy more often at a higher price than somebody at a lower price point, then they can optimize on that level, which you just simply can't do on your own, manually change the prices. And that actually, for sure, is what they're doing. Because from what I've seen, the price is different, based upon what device you're on, where you're logging in, and so forth with the testing that I did. So this is it's taking things to the next level, as is with smart bidding. You can always do better and make more money with smart bidding than you can with manual bidding, because they're going to be optimizing on a whole other level that you can't simply optimize as a human or that you have access to. So literally speaking, what you're doing here is you're just saying, hey, Google, these products, I want you to do the split testing of the price on. I'm going to say, okay, we buy our products at $50. They're currently selling at, we have them on our website for $100 right now. I want you to test the product at $100, 90, 80, 70, 60, and I want you to find which one will maximize our profitability, considering that our product costs $50 to buy, in terms of finding out what price is going to maximize the profit that we're going to get, given that the lower the price, obviously, generally speaking, not always, is going to raise the volume of sales that we get. And they're going to mathematically crunch the numbers. And all we got to do is just tell them what's the minimum price that you could charge itself, / what is our cost of goods. You can actually tell them both. And they're going to mathematically figure out and, split test this until they figure it out on each product that you sell. And then also obviously taking into consideration that it's not going to be just across the board. That different people are going to get one price. Another person's going to get another price for that same item based upon what Google's algorithm has figured out the perfect price for that exact type of or profile of person to maximize profit from each item that you sell. All right. Now, this sounds really cool, and it is. It's a little bit technical to set up at the beginning, but really it just comes down to a simple 3-step process. Number 1, you create additional attributes on your product feed. So you take your product feed that you already have to power your PMax and shopping campaigns now, wherever you're running, which, by the way, you should run PMax now with a feed only set up to run shopping placements because it works better. Okay? There's more machine learning involved and ties in exactly with what I'm talking about here, where Google can do higher level testing on your behalf. The product feed, you add a minimum price attribute on there and then a cost of goods sold attribute itself. So that basically, just like what it sounds, hey, Google, do not test anything lower than this price. And here's what we pay for the product. So a couple things here before I move on. Number one, generally speaking, the minimum price should just be what the cost of goods is. Or asking for both. And that's because some people probably have some weird proclivities to know, I'm not selling my masterpiece for less than XYZ dollars. So they put that in there for those guys that are doing that. But also, a lot of guys get scared and giving Google too much data. They say, Corey, even with, tracking offline conversions. So if when you want to track sales that come in by phone, giving that sales data back to Google, will that cause Google to say, oh, you're doing really well. Let's raise what we're charging you per click. Cut you off at the knees a little bit. Ultimately, they do that a little bit. I'm not going to get into all the details on that, but generally speaking, what my rebuttal to that is just like what I'm telling you here. At the end of the day, something either makes more profit or it doesn't. Okay? And you are under control of telling Google what you want to make. Okay? And what's profitable. Either the profit goes up doing what you're doing or it doesn't. If Google ends up making a little bit more money than they did while you make more money, who gives a crap in that situation? Just roll with it. Realize that, at the end of the day, nothing's perfect. It makes more money. Who cares? So yes, I realize Google's probably going to take advantage of this data that we're giving it at some point and say, hey, let's sneak in a bit more traffic here that we can't sell to raise our quarterly profits here for the next quarterly revenue guidance that we have to give to our shareholders. But for the most part, the results are there. I've proven this a couple times of running this experiment now using the automated discounts. It works. Just so you can get all anal about it if you want, but we'll make all the money if we're in your market doing it, bottom line. Second thing that you do once you modified your product feed is you work with Simprosis, which is a product feed service, to create a new virtual product stream. So for the most part, you can just use them to consolidate your product feed. And so instead of using, let's say, for Shopify, Google, and YouTube app for your product feed. So basically what you're doing here is, so this is how it works on a technical level. When Google wants to test your product that is now at 100 and want to test it at $90, okay, for an individual user, what they're going to do is they're going to send that click from that user to your website with the URL modified. So it might be, here's your website, website.com/XJR12/PR12. So XJR12 is the name of the product. That's your normal landing page that you have for that product. What they'll do is they'll send the traffic to this artificial page with a code at the end, and Shopify, or whether you're using Shopify, Magento, it'll have another product page that's generated on the site that's sitting kind of in the background. It's not in the main navigation of the site, of which will have that new price on it. So Simprosis is going to work with your platform to create these artificial products. And that also, Simprosis sends the data to Google Merchant Center by an additional feed, so that Google understands when they want to test this product out at $90, it needs to send it to this exact product that has it already listed at $90 on the site. What they'll do is they'll create a artificial product, if you will, or a virtual product, 90, at 80, at 70, at 60. So they already have on deck different product pages to send people to on the site, which naturally, I never really thought about doing that before in terms of price testing, but that would be kind of cool, right? If you were price testing on your search ads, you could create a new ad pointing people to a virtual product on the site that's priced differently. Everything else is the same, and you could price test that way. But in this case, they're making it possible with shopping campaigns, because you can't necessarily do that on shopping unless you test at one price and then stop, then it's another price. In this case, it's literally a split test where one guy gets this price, the next guy gets this price, the other guy gets the original price, plus on steroids, which, of course, they're going to sub-segment all the people searching on Google, people that like to go to fast food restaurants, whatever. Okay, we're finding that they like prices at this versus somebody who doesn't like fast food. They typically convert better at this price, and they're going to do all that on that level. But Simprosis is going to be the one that you work with. They're just a feed company, and they're going to help you. You just got to reach out to their support, and they're going to help you set everything up. Not complicated. You know, it's not cheap to run this. So basically speaking, if you're not already doing, let's say, $500,000 a year in sales revenue already, I wouldn't recommend probably doing it because the cost of the service is not necessarily cheap, and you don't have enough volume to do a decent split test, to give Google a decent split test already. Because if you're not spending at least several grand a month on your PMax campaign already, it's going to take forever for them to test anything anyway, even though there's no minimum amount of spend that you need to run or clicks that you need to run this experiment. Finally, number 3, you're going to set up conversion with cart data through GA4. So you just got to Google how to set up conversion with cart data with GA4. Essentially what this does is it takes any Google Analytics tracking that you have now, okay, through Google Analytics, which you should already have your purchase tracking there. Why? Because your PMax campaign is going to do better with your GA4 account running with the right tracking on it, because PMax utilizes the Google Analytics 4 data, particularly when it's linked to Google, when your Google Analytics account's linked to Google Ads. It's going to use it for steering of the PMax campaign, which is part of the reason why PMax does better than standard shopping, because you're going to look at all the individual data that comes through Google Analytics to optimize that campaign. Well, in this case, you're enhancing the conversion data coming in with your product price itself, but also, more importantly, what's added in addition is the COGS, or cost of goods sold, or the cost of whatever it is that you're selling the product for, or that you're buying the product at, or getting it from your supplier at, and then the discount itself. That is, when somebody goes to the cart and they buy, the discount that gets applied to the item is going to be set to Google Analytics as well, which that is going to be able to be set because when Simprosys, let's say if you're using Shopify, it's going to modify the product and apply a discount. That discount is going to send to Google Analytics. So essentially in the conversion data, you're going to be able to see and utilize, and there's a report that you can see that says not only the sales by item, but the items that sold, the COGS. So what is your profit? That is revenue minus COGS. And then also what the discount was that was applied to that item. So outside of Google Ads data, reporting that they're going to give you on their testing they're doing inside Google Merchant Center, you're also going to see data in Google Analytics that can give you data to understand, okay, let's use what we've learned here and figure out what works for each item. They're doing all this testing on their end for each item. Let's use it for our search campaigns so that when we send people to this item on our search campaigns, we want to send people to an item that will lower the price, if you will. Or we're creating a different product page that has it listed at a different price so that the search ad can go to that product page with it listed at that price. We can get more out of that search campaign / let's optimize the price for everything, for all traffic sources at that point in time. But that is your basic overall process. And by the way, if you wonder why this whole Google Analytics thing is required, the reason for this is, even though with your product feed up here, your normal product feed that you have now, you can tell them the minimum price and cost of goods sold, the reason why they want this cart data in addition is simply because there's cross-contamination of your data when you start to reduce price. So like, in other words, let's say you sell pottery wheels. Okay, you sell pottery wheels. You got 5 different pottery wheels for sale. Google's doing their testing and they're going to lower the price on this pottery wheel by 30%. They're going to sell it. What that's ultimately going to do in shopping, given that there's 8 spots on shopping, or typically 6 or 8, in the shopping pack, 8-pack. If they lower the price on this item here, if we're showing up multiple times in shopping, which you're showing up 3 times, this item here is reduced by 30% because Google's running that test. What that is going to do is going to suck the air out of the traction you're getting from these 2 other items, right? And this item over here, which typically sells for 3 times more than this one, because it gets less sales and it has much greater margins, it's on an overall basis, you're going to make less profit because you reduce the price on this item that sucked the air out of this item where all the profit's made. That is exactly why they were smart. The engineers at Google are very smart in adding this feature in here so that the overall end result will be from all your items, you're making more money. So that the shopping campaign as a whole, or PMax, if you're running that like you should, the PMax as a whole is going to make more money. It's not just going to make more money in individualized item basis, which, by the way, you can run this experiment on one item, all your items, some of your items, it's fine. So they knew what people will want to do is just run an experiment on some of the items, and then they can raise the profit on those items. But the PMax campaign as a whole will do worse because the items, the profit went up on these items, but the rest of the items, it went down because more sales were going through those items where the testing was going on, in which the margins potentially were less. So this is all factored into the formula, the algorithm, if you will, that's there to get you more profit from your ads. And then the reporting, like I said, is in Google Analytics, but inside Google Merchant Center, when this is all set up, it's going to tell you how much incremental profit that they've made for you. Literally, we'll say, okay, since start, we've made 12.5% more profit from these items where we're split testing your price so far. And it's really cool. It does all this for you on a level that you can't necessarily do. I don't care how smart you are, how good you are at price testing, because they can do it testing on an individual user level, like I mentioned before. With that said, I have a case study here where we've tested this and definitively now finally can do a video on this and share with you what the results are. But before I dip into those results, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you should. I've got the best information on this channel about how to make millions of dollars a year running ads for your business from somebody who's a actual practitioner, managing dozens of accounts and doing all the strategy on them personally. So if you want to learn from somebody in the weeds doing the work directly, you want to learn from myself, you also can find my blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has step-by-step instructions to use the strategies I'm using for clients with screenshots with a more visual format. So if you like the channel, you should check that out as well. If you have any questions about anything I'm covering here or any ad-related, marketing-related question, you can always leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person that leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. You also can reach out to me through my Discord group that I opened up. You can find the link to that in the video description, of which I've got a free PPC course in there as a welcome for joining the group. And there's a bunch of other people you can talk to that follow the channel in there. It's a private group. But with that said, I also do private consulting and coaching calls. So if you want to have a private call with me, reach out to me at my site at guaranteedppc.com. Be happy to do that with you. I work with a lot of agencies and consult them, as well as individual company owners. And then furthermore, if you want somebody to just set this up for you or get you results, this is what we do for clients at our firm, of course. We do all of it for you, and we do not charge unless we get you a certain minimum lift in your profitability up front in general, or a certain minimum level of profitability in general before taking management fees. We're the only agency out there who does anything like this. I can get you an 8-quarter projection of the results we can get for you if you reach out to me at my firm today or, soon. I'm providing those right now. And then I also have ad templates available as well. If you are in a market that we've already been in, we can sell you the winning ads, landing pages, campaign templates that work for your market. You copy paste those into your ad account and get the same results we did in a different geography than you, different city, different country. I've been in over 100 different niche markets and developed strategies for over 100 markets. So chances are quite high we've already got the results you're looking for and can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front. It's like having a business in a box, essentially, because you can take it and you can replicate, you can enter any market almost that we're in easily, because you can set up the ad campaigns and then just sub out the work or drop ship or whatever. It's literally like, that's the hard part about making a business work, obviously, is having the customers come in at a profitable rate. So anyway, with that said, the results, we had a women's clothing brand here. So what I've got here is the results with the profit. We're talking about the sales revenue minus the COGS, or cost of the product. Okay. So with PMax before, this is a pretty big brand. We were doing $273K a month in overall profit. So this is a pretty big campaign that we were running for a pretty big brand itself. And by the way, this was on the items in which we tested itself. They had 50 stagnant items itself. So like I mentioned before, you can just do split testing here and do the automated discounts for one item, few items, all your items, okay? They had the items that, to make sure this was a valid experiment, we took items that year over year, they were stagnant in terms of their growth, okay? Which is what I recommend you do if you want to prove this out to yourself. 50 items as a result of that. Of the 50 items, the year over year growth we had one year over the next was only 4%, okay? So that, we're up a little bit, but basically none, and especially none compared to our account as a whole. It was growing by about 20-30% a year in terms of profit growth. So with that said, the sales that we were getting, $273K a month in overall profit itself from these items. PMax after 90 days of simply doing this price testing itself, which, like I mentioned before and recommended to you, we actually, the bottom or minimum price was the cost of goods sold. So we let Google go all the way down on these items, down to where there's zero profit left, to test which price point the prices would sell at. And it did very well. We overwrote this. $309K worth a month in profit from these same 50 items. After 90 days of testing this out, which is a 13% increase in profit from those items once we instituted the price discount testing or automated discount testing on Google Shopping. So we went from, in other words, a 4% year-over-year growth to basically a 17% year-over-year growth when you add in what incremental additional profit that the automated discount testing offers itself. So that in itself sells it to you. Now, I know the title of this video says double profit. We didn't actually get that, but I will tell you that this is after 90 days, and there's no way, because I just know how Google Ads works with smart bidding and everything else, there's no way that's going to be all we're going to get. And in fact, since I made this video, it's been up even more. So if we were to do this, it's certainly going to double the profitability of all our items when we apply it to all the items, because Google's going to do, like I said, it's going to get more and more smart. Just like with smart bidding, whatever results you get starting out, you'll make 20 times more than that when the smart bidding algorithm has had, let's say, 10 years worth of data to look at to find out exactly who buys, why they buy, what that customer looks like. Do they visit this website before they buy? Do they say this on their phone before they buy? Because they're going to track all this data on their users. They're going to find out and be more and more intelligent all the time about when your ad should show for a person and when they shouldn't. In this case, it's at what price one type of person should get versus another. There's no way this ends here itself. And the way, or should I say the reason that, before I, say why this gets results as well, a longer test, by the way, I was thinking about running this test for longer so I could be like, hey, this is a 60% increase. A longer test wouldn't be great because it would be seasonal. The business is seasonal, as is most businesses. So I just did it after 90 days. And then also, in order to not have take the seasonality out of it, I would have had to wait a whole year. I wanted to hurry up and get this out there because it was exciting as is. But with that said, okay, clearly the way, other than what I've already explained, why Google is able to incrementally increase your profitability of your items that you're selling through shopping/PMax, when you use automated discounts testing, it's because Google can test the end digit. And I've talked about this on other videos, how simply ending your price of your items in a 7 versus a 0 could increase your profitability by double digits in and itself, which is a little secret. You could take away that. That could be the one piece of information that made it worth watching this whole video in and itself. They can test that, of course, and get that done for you if you didn't know about it already, as well as competitor matching. I've talked about this on my website before recently, where essentially, if you're smart, you'll go and you'll Google your own products or words that describe your product. And then on shopping, you're going to make sure that the people that show up next to you, particularly when it's the same items, but the same brand, your price is just a hair underneath everybody else. Because when the same item's showing up there and one's $89 and one's $91, they're twice as likely or more to click on the $89 one, just because that's how humans are wired. So you would lower the price a little bit because of that. Well, Google's going to take care of this for you automatically. I don't even want to say that. I want to say that their engineers are smart enough to look at the other products that have the same GTIN numbers, which track what, that unique item, as an individual item that's unique. They're going to see with you having this and the competitors not, and the competitors are not going to do it because they're too lazy. They're going to see that the other guys are priced at 90. So we've already figured out when we're 10% less than the other guys that the sales and the profit go up tremendously. We're just going to drop the price on all these items slightly under all the competitors for this same GTIN number. And that's also a major way that they're going to be able to get you a profit. So ultimately, I want to say confidently here, doubling your profit from PMax and shopping, doing this over the course of, let's say, 12 months is almost guaranteed just for those 2 factors alone, let alone the individual user testing like I was mentioning before. So anyway, that goes over automated discounts on Google Shopping, how to do it. Once it's in place, you don't have to do anything. It just gets you results. Why not do it? So hopefully that made a lot of sense, and I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.